Hey, 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 hey. Welcome to the show. It is Mr. Telex looking at a wonderful new Mortlach 15. And we just did a short review of it. Check it out on the side. I always try to keep them to about 7 to 10 minutes long at the top. Um, Always open with that. And then I open up to a more of a live discussion, free for all after the fact. This one was an interesting thing. It's the Mortlach 15. It's a Game of Thrones marketing deal, but the juice is actually pretty good. I wish the craft was a little more transparent, we'll say. I wish that they told you more about the coloring and chill filtering. I'm suspicious, but with it being pricey, with it being in the first Oloroso before they go to the ex-bourbon, the color isn't really too crazy, but I gotta have a little more. Go with that for now. Wish I had my other bottles over here. I'll have to get those in a second. I might put old Malt in charge for a bit before we go over there. Hey guys, I see a couple of you joined. What are you guys drinking? I'm just curious. Um, I won't give out all the details yet. I'll get Malt in here first before we go over too many details. But it's pretty good. I got to give it a 4.25 out of 5. It's not it wasn't a home run out of the park, but definitely worth it if you get around $100. I think it's definitely a good deal. Plus, it's not your typical dram by any means. It's definitely not for anyone's first scotch. It's more of on the complex end. It's more on the savory end. It's pretty well rounded, pretty balanced, but it does lack sweetness. Hey Ben, good to see you, man. What are you drinking, by the way? Sorry, it was a little gnat in my face for a second there. Don't want to see any of those, that's for sure. You have any of you ever had any Mortlocks there, Ben? I'm just curious. And anyone else that's watching? Hey, Mark Stingle, good to see you, man. Andram, hey, I'm sure you're probably still locked up in California, right? At work, I mean. I know you've probably had a lot of Mortlocks there, Dram. Do you have a favorite? Have you had this one before? And have you had any of the new series? You probably had the rare old, at least I'm sure at this point. But have you had like the new 12, 16, 18, 20, any of those? I'm just curious. Compass Box 3-year deluxe. Jeez, that's insane. I bet that's pretty good. I don't know if I've ever had that one. Maybe in the tasting, but I doubt it. Neil Xerxes, yeah, good to see you. Ardbeg Ugadal tonight. Too slow, good to see you. I don't know if I've met you or Mark or Neo before, but definitely welcome to the channel. I'm just did a short review of this one. Check it out on the side if you don't mind. I will go into more detail with Malt here in a little bit when he catches up over. Hmm. Yes, I've had a fair amount of Mortlocks. Haven't tried that one or the new ones. Oh, okay. Um, have you had any of the regular distillery versions, Dram? I know you've had a lot of the independent bottlings, but have you had any of the old distillery bottles? I'm curious. A few Senatorian and Adelphi Reese's of Mortlock. Yeah, people tend to gravitate, of course, to the independents in a lot of these, but you might be missing like something special on the side if you pass up some of these distillery bottles. Good evening, it's Lanchavada Ben. Good to see you. Hey Daniel, good to see you, man. Meister French. Wow, nice. After we're old, it's tough to try official bottling. So many good independents out there. Yeah. Um, with the old stuff, I know they had a 15. I want to say. I just had my thing up here, and of course I minimized it. Here we go. Let's see, pick the 15 out. Special strength. Wow, I haven't even heard of that one. 49% is special strength. Huh? First and second fill European and American oak casks. An NAS though rates pretty well. Looks like it's usually around a 4, but you never know. The new 14, they have an old 14. That's a Hart Brothers though. Never mind. That's a independent bottling. A new 26 here. Oh, I bet that's good, but I bet that's pricey as hell. Old 21, Gordon MacPhail. The Rare Old, that was another NAS they used to have. That's a distillery bottle. 43.4% ex-bourbon, ex-sherry. How was that Rare Old, Dram? What did you think about that one? I'm just curious. On the Rare Old. The Old 25, I mean, I'm sure that's glorious, but I bet that was always pricey. Didn't really rate as high as I thought it would, though. I guess besides the Rare Old, they didn't really have a whole lot of options. More, and not even thinking about age statements. So they had a couple bottles, but not really any age statements. This is the first time I think Diageo has invested in doing proper year statements on Mortlach for the distillery bottlings, the official bottles. So that's a good thing, I think. I mean, if the other ones are at all like this, I would be very happy with that. Hopefully, well, here he is. We'll get Malt in here and see what he had to say. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Oh, just good. Just talking about how Mortlach didn't really have a lot of official bottlings when they, started for a while. They had the Rare Old, the Special Strength. They had like an Old 25, but this is like the first time I think they've ever invested like in a proper age statement. And I was wondering like what you thought, hopefully, of the Wee Witchy. Have you opened it up yet?
I haven't, my friend. I'm going to do it here with you live in a few minutes.
No, that's cool. I was just curious.
I'm in the process of washing a horrible taste out of my mouth. And
oh, no.
The horrible taste is coming from this. A Glen Scotia hand-filled single cask from the distillery. The cloudiest whiskey I've ever seen. Look at this.
Oh, my God, man.
There is a funkiness to this that I cannot explain. I know there's probably some folks here we were just on for happy hour, and I opened it there. There's like this chewed vitamin pencil shaving funky smoke thing going on it is just landing with me all sorts of foul, my friend.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I'm going to need to let this sit. There's good whiskey in here, but man, it is really covered in something funky. So I've been washing my mouth out a little bit on that one, buddy.
What's the cask on that?
This is, it says... Cask number, it's from 2017, 416. Rich sherry and peat nose, sweet, oily, with citrus, lemon drizzle cake, classic Campbelltown, about 10 years, 56.3%. Yeah, this is going to take some getting used to, man.
But it doesn't say like doesn't have like a finish, like a weird, like Marsala or something weird, huh?
No.
Is it straight up bourbon barrel or is it straight
up?
No,
it's sherry.
Oh, sherry. Okay.
Yeah, but man, there's something real funky happening in there.
Do they tell you if it's like Fino or PX or Oloroso or anything like that?
Nope. It just says single cask shop bottling, rich sherry and peat.
Oh, wow. Well, if anybody knows what they're using as far as sherry in that bottle, please let us know in the comments because that might explain the funky factor.
Yeah, it's either because I'm just not, this is going to take some oxygen, I think. I'm just maybe not at the level to fully it's a note I've never had in a whiskey before.
Wow.
There's it's like a varnish and then like this like chewed vitamin chalkiness with like a mealy funk. I don't know. This is a totally different animal for me. So we'll see what happens, but
it kind of reminds me of the Octomore 7.3 when I got that durian fruit note. That's the only Octomore I don't like is 7.3. All the other ones have been fantastic. Even the 7.2 and the 7.1 were outstanding. 7.3, I just could not drink it. I gave it away to Aquaman, to Mr. Lee.
Right on, man.
That's how bad it was to me, but he loved that stuff.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, I'm interested, and it was we'll see what happens. I was looking forward to this. It's not quite landing with me yet, but we'll see. But how you been, man? How's your week?
Pretty decent, just hanging in there. A lot work has been crazy as usual,
Oh
and
yeah, me too, man.
I was looking forward to now. I even told my boss earlier. It's funny because he's like, what are you drinking tonight?" I'm like, "How'd you know?" He's like, "Well, it's Tuesday," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, 9 o'clock can't come, quick enough." And he's like, "What do you?" I told him what I was drinking. He's like, "Oh, well, never mind." He's not a Scotch guy, I guess.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Have you picked up anything new in the last week, or any new bottles in your house?
Not in the last week. I have been looking to put another order in soon because I am going to need to get. I got the Highland Park we might do next week, but I need to get either that Balvenie we've had our eye on or something else maybe soon.
Yeah.
It's been. I've been looking at bass guitars actually on the side. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, I play a lot of instruments. You don't see them here, but I've got like instruments all over the place. I play everything from guitar to the Ecuadorian bandolin to the guitarrón chileno and all this crazy stuff.
Kidding.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, cool.
What about you? What did you get?
Well, yeah, I got this Glen Scotia, which is TBD. I also got a Glengoyne 25 finally, which I've been waiting to get forever. So I'm excited about that. I got a Ben Romick 15. And yeah, a couple other things. I got a couple things this week.
That Ben Romick 15, I need to get that myself just to have.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it, man. So far, it's great.
I'll definitely have to do a show with you on Ben Romick and just at some point in the future because that's one I've done the Imperial Proof and I love it, and I've done the Peat Smoke 2016. I loved it, but I haven't really got a chance to do the 15 or anything on the older side that they have. And I think that's the oldest one they have.
Yeah,
like 25 or something, but I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen. I actually haven't seen much of age statement Ben Romick. I have the organic too, but I've never had that Imperial or anything. But so yeah, grabbed a couple of those things. I'm not sure if there's anything else new. Oh yeah, and then I got this Mortlach Wee Witchy, which has been waiting in the wings, which I'll crack tonight because I know you're sipping Mortlach. I've never had a Mortlach before. This is the 12 years old, 43.4%. So
I'm surprised Swami says he hasn't really had anything other than the 12 before, and Ben just said he's never had one. It's a good distillery. It's just on the more savory / sulfuric side of things. It's kind of like a Benevis without. I mean, it does have sweetness, but usually it's about kind of the same as a Benevis. I'm not sure if you've had any of those before, but it's definitely decent with complexity and that type of thing, but it is more meaty usually or savory. Just to give you an idea on this one, I did do the short review beforehand, but it's a 15-year. It's 46%. It's not peated. It possibly is colored and chill filtered. They don't really tell you. I mean, the color on the 15 is not. It's not crazy out of the woods. Would you say? On this, I mean, that's pretty good for 15, I would think. And it's first fill sherry, it's first fill Oloroso sherry, seasoned, finished in American oak ex-bourbon casks. So it is got a lot going on as far as its procedure. The first thing you get is like a cocoa nib, like a cacao nib, like real rustic chocolate, honey and ginger. And there is some slight sulfuric stuff going on, but it's really low compared to other Mortlachs.
Interesting.
It's got cinnamon and nutmeg and some oranges too. So it's got a lot going on in the nose.
Yeah, that does sound. And that's the Game of Thrones one you said, right?
Yeah. It's got toffee and vanilla from the get-go in the palate with some black pepper, some marzipan, some mocha notes. Heavy mouth coat like a Klein leash, which I really like. A slight smoky flavor, even though it's not peated. And the finish has got custard cream. It's got a finish as custard cream, espresso, fudgy briny. It's pretty long. And the water is real. I won't get into the details of all the notes you get off the water. You go check out the short review for that. But the water really changes it, even with just a couple of drops. And I gave it a 4.25 out of 5. I think it's
nice.
Yeah, the price though is a little steep. Regularly it's 150, but you can find, like, I found mine for 130, and I know there's a sale going on right now, guys. If you do your research, you can find this for $80 right now, and you can order it and get it pretty easy. It's a very well-known whiskey exchange type of site. We'll put it that way. So
Is so I just poured a little of the Wee Witchy, and then I'll take a look. They got a lot of stuff on here, but as I said, I've never had a Mortlach and anything to help get the flavor of this Glen Scotia hand-filled distillery bottle out of my mouth. So I'm looking forward to getting into this. But that 15, the Game of Thrones, was that released with all those other Game of Thrones ones, or is this like something new? Because honestly, I don't remember seeing that when all that came out.
it was after the fact. They released the first 8 at one time. They had the 7 white bottles and the Oban Night Watch as like the kind of like their extra. Well, about, I guess it was like a 6 months to a year even. I can't remember how long it was afterward. Then they released this puppy just out of the blue, saying it was the last of the series. And I thought, well, I wanted to get a Mortlach for my collection because the only one I had was like an 11 classic cask, which it was okay. It was kind of a sourdoughy, bready, kind of a, just basic savory deal. But the other ones I've like taste tested before, like, sample, and they've been pretty good. It was like a rare old, and I can't remember what the other thing. I think it was an independent bottling, but this one is actually my favorite so far, and I'm surprised with it being in a distillery bottle and being Diageo and all their marketing and all that, which I'm not a big fan of per se. I just wanted to, once I started collecting the different distilleries, I thought, well, I might as well just get this series at least. I'm going to skip the White Walker and all that bullshit, though.
Yeah, the White Walker. Yeah, so as for the 12, which I guess is their introductory one, right? So this is part of their new, their newer branding. It's called the Wee Witchy, 43.4%. The Beast of Dufftown. It says this all over the frickin' place. Here. It's everywhere. They're all about it. So they have an interesting little thing on the side here. It's where it says Beast of Dufftown on every possible part of this box.
That's like that's their big thing for the distillery. They even do it on this one. Like Mortlach is Dufftown's first legal distillery, and that's why they really want to tout that a lot.
Yeah, well, they're definitely touting it. I'll tell you that. So here's what it's got to say: cask wise, ex sherry, ex bourbon. And then interesting, it tells, oh my God. So listen to this. It tells you their recommendation on how to serve it.
Oh no.
And it says add water or ice to reveal the true Mortlach character.
Don't do that. Right off the bat. Do it afterward. But
yeah, for sure.
Couple of drops.
It literally says the Beast of Dufftown, and then quotes itself as saying an ode to the stills that bear the Beast of Dufftown. So it's really feeling this Beast of Dufftown situation.
The good news is, compared to Ball Blair, this series is doing really well rating wise across the board. So
really?
I'm hopeful that you like it as much as I think you're going to like it, because I think this one's going to be one of those that's going to surprise you for being only 12 years old. But don't quote me on that just yet.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. It talks about how it's 2.81 times distilled crisscrosses 6 copper stills, and blah blah blah, like a bunch of complexity. Okay. So nothing about chill filtration or whatever natural.
Yeah, the craft is a question mark, but that's the only thing I could really ding them. I mean, of course, I'd love it to be a little older if I could get it that way, but I can't really complain too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm with you in the sense that, like, I don't think it's disqualifying. It's just like more. It'd be ideal if they didn't chill filter the hell out of it, but. It doesn't say anything on the bottle either. Yeah, so this is definitely 43.4%. Beast of Dufftown.
And Swami's right about they use this a lot of blends for Diageo. I'm not sure if this goes into any Johnny Walker products, but it probably would. I would think at some point at one of their Johnny Walker blends, I would imagine that needs a savory note to it, because that is probably one of their better brands next to Lagavulin and Talisker. I think Mortlach is up there with Kleinleach, and it's a hell of a lot better than Cardew and Royal Lochnagar and some of those other ones, I think,
Yeah. Pretty subdued on the nose, but it's got, definitely got some fruitiness, some citrus.
Well, you just poured it too. You might
Yeah.
have to give it a couple minutes to really get opened up there, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll check it out. But you mentioned that you've had a couple different a couple different Mortlachs. What are the other ones that you said you've had this 12 and then you've had, I think they got like a 16 or
I haven't had the new. This was the first of the new series I've had. I had the old one called the Rare Old. I had an old 12, an old 11, another bottle of some independent ones. But I haven't. This is the first of the new series I've had, and that's why I was excited because once I had this and knowing that it was rating about, if you're looking at 100-point scores, it's rating usually about 10 points higher than the Ball Blair stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me told me that, well, if the Ball Blair stuff is rating around, 80-ish and this stuff is rating around 90-ish, it's got to be fairly decent, I would hope. But
yeah. And you said you give that a 4.25?
I think a 4.25 is pretty good. I mean, because they aren't crossing a lot of the boxes, even though it's colored and chill filtered most likely. I don't want to say that for sure, but to being 15 years and having the sherry and the ex-bourbon cask complexity with the 46 ABV, and it even though it doesn't hit my nice sweet tooth factor that I do like a sweet dram. That's the only thing I'm not really feeling on this one. Everything else is checking all the boxes for. Especially with the water, it's just as complex with the water. Not talking just a couple of drops. It changes it a lot. So you almost get like two whiskeys for the price of one when it comes to that kind of thing to me, So what'd you think on the palate?
Solid. It's got a pretty full mouth, pretty oily.
Is it? Yeah, I like Mortlach because they do remind me of a Kleinlich mouth coat. It's on the heavier side.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it seems a little bit on the, like, it's balanced almost to a fault in that, like, there's not any one thing kind of popping out, but like, it's definitely mouth-watering. One of the more mouth-watering whiskeys I've ever had. Meaty, and then. Yeah, finish. You get this kind of like sharp menthol mintiness at the end, a little bit of spice. Not bad.
What's the ABV on that one? 43 or 46 or?
43.4.
That's not bad. Okay.
Yeah, this is very different. I've never, I've never having a Mortlach. This is definitely a new experience.
Is it got any fruit on the palate at all?
Yeah, definitely. It's got like it's subtle, like it's kind of like a creamy whatever you call it, like vanilla fruit type thing, like it's kind of working really well together. If it was any fruit, it's like kind of a bright red fruit thing.
Do you get a lot of woody notes, like oakiness from it too?
Not a lot right now, but then again, that's just the first sip, so we'll see.
Yeah. How about some pepper? Any like white or black pepper or anything like that?
Yeah, on the end. There's the spices on the end.
Gotcha.
Like if it goes into the finish is where like, and it's not assertive. I mean, it's there, but it's not blowing your mind. It's almost like a hot cinnamon, black pepper kind of thing, but it's not assertive at all.
Gotcha. Did you get any?
Honestly, the whiskey's kind of flat.
Yeah. Did you get any smokiness at all? Any?
Not yet.
Smokiness? Okay.
Yeah, not yet. We'll see as we go through this dram, but yeah, so far it's kind of flat. There's nothing really standing out. And I'm saying flat in a neutral way.
Yeah.
Little bit of fruit. It does have kind of like a meaty, what is it, savory type thing going on. It's very mouth-watering, which is kind of interesting. This is not a profile I'm super familiar with, so I'm going to have to. I'll reserve too much judgment until I can kind of dig into a little bit more. But so far, sort of interesting, but not especially remarkable in any way.
Yeah, I think once you maybe after a little bit more, like you said, when I first tasted like a Ben Nevis or like a Mortlach, it's so different than what you're used to tasting. You almost have to do like a double take and think, huh, what do I like this or do I not like it? I think
Yeah.
I think it will warm up to you after a little bit. It you definitely have to be in the mood for it though, because it's like I said, typically I like a more of a sweeter edge dram and that this one I haven't had that one, but this one, if it's anything like it, which it sounds like it probably is, it does not really have much sweetness going on at all in it.
I mean, it's a little bit. It's fruity. It's fruit, but it's not. It's not overly sweet. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't. I usually don't go too far into it before I give it a little time, but it's
give it a drop of water and see
yeah.
if
Well, I'm gonna
it
do that
tastes
for sure.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do one more sip neat, and then I'll put a little water on it. We'll see. But
It is.
some folks in here got opinions. Somebody said they had a Mortlach 20. They need to try the new Mortlach 20. Said Samuel Cass. Yeah, I've not had that. Malt Muser said, or Malted Montreal said, yep. Oh, Swami kind of had the same opinion. It sounds like I did about the 12. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
That's a shame because they do have a 12, they have a 14, a 16, and an 18 and a 20. They got like 5 age statements, which is really far across the board on this new series, not even counting this 15. So they have a 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20,
Yeah.
and a 26, I think it is. So they have like 7 different ages to pick from. What's the price point on that one? Was it like about 40 or $50, or was it
It's like a
more?
little over 50.
Oh wow, that's way too high for a 12-year. I'd say it's a shame because this one I think would be reasonably priced around 90 to 100. The 14 or the 12, I would think they would price it like around 50, 55 at the most. I would hope. But
Yeah, this Morlock 12, I think, is kind of in that like 45 to 50 range, probably. I don't remember how much I paid. I think it was like right around 50 with tax and stuff was a little over. So the second sip, more of that sweet fruit cherry kind of thing coming through. It almost tastes like PX. It does taste cherry, so I don't know, but there's a little bit more of a sweetness. Again, I don't know.
still not hitting all the right notes.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not a wow whiskey. Like I'll say that. I mean, it's not like there are 12-year-olds that I think you can have that are probably a little bit more so. But again, like I'm not familiar with this style, so like I got to kind of stay in court here and work on it. But
brings a good question, and this question is for the audience as well. Tell me, what is the best 12-year whiskey you've had? Just POW 12-year whiskey, just out of the gate. If you had to go buy a 12-year right now, and you had, money's not really an issue. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant like a Little Mill 12 or anything like that, but something that you love that's a 12-year POW. Samuel says the 20 is delicious. And that more like 20, if this is just even near as good as that 20, and this is 5 years difference, I might have to invest in that. But $200 is a lot of money for a freaking whiskey.
yeah, agreed. I think if we were talking 12s, I'm not going to count Lagavulin 12 because it's kind of an anomaly. But okay.
Well,
here's my short.
It is a 12. It is a 12-year though, so I would accept Lagavulin 12.
All right, Lagavulin 12. I would say we're talking just Scotch here, right? So Lagavulin 12.
Yeah, keep it Scotch. Try to pick one that's not 12. Try to pick one that's not cask strength. So Bunnahabhain 12 would be an excellent choice.
Bunnahabhain 12, Highland Park 12.
Is it a
Winter Reuben?
Hold on. Would you really consider though I mean, Bunnahabhain 12 I'd agree with you with. What was the second one you said? Highland Park. The Highland Park 12 didn't really. I mean, to me, that's like a 3-star out of 5. I mean, it's good, but it didn't
talk about Highland Park.
It didn't blow me out of the water.
I would obviously include Springbank 12 cask strength in this, and then I would say probably the Glenmorangie Winter Reuben.
That's 14 though now.
It is now, yeah. So we don't have to count that. Oh, and then Knock 12.
The Anach 12. Okay. Yeah. That you got me. I don't think I've ever tried that one. I've got to get my hands on the basic Anach 12.
Yeah. Buna, Lagavulin, Anach. Glenmorangie, depending. Well,
See, the thing that I don't really count the Lagavulin and the Springbank as much because they're both cast strength. That's where they really get you.
Yeah, if you're looking for just like straight up standard releases for 12-year-olds, I would go a Knock, Highland Park, probably Bunnahabhain, and I don't know, Kalila 12. I'm not. I don't know. Kalila 12 kind of sitting in a weird spot. Deanston 12 is close, but I still don't love it. Those would probably be the three I would grab off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was looking at I forgot about Deanston having a 12, and I'm not going to dispute the Deanston 12. This 46.3 ex-bourbon, pretty straightforward, but rates fairly well. Yeah, that one I could see.
Welsh Toro just reminded me. Yeah, I forgot about the Glencairn, the Kilcairn. You got to throw that in there.
Yeah, Kilcairn 12 is actually one of the best 12s I think I've had. So that's, between that, the Glendronach, of course, 12.
Oh, yeah, Glendronach.
Yeah, Glendronach is probably my favorite 12 that if I had to pick one.
Glengarry 12. Yeah, I just saw that. Peter White, you just reminded me. Glengarry 12, I don't know how I forgot about that. Glengarry 12, I think, is one of the most underrated 12-year-olds. It's one of the most underrated whiskeys, period, in my opinion. But
I did like it, but I have to have it again. I only had it in like a sample format, so it's kind of hard to really judge it well that way. But I do remember liking it as much as like the Nakando 15, which is one you don't see, the Nakando, sorry. Because there's a Nakdu, which is the Anak, and then there's the Nakendo, which is the one I'm thinking of, the 15-year-old. It's really good if you get a chance to snag it, but it's extremely rare. You don't see it for sale, very often. But no, it's good. I'm glad we talked about that because, between all the 12s, I think the Bunnahabhain 12, the Glendronach 12, and the Deanston 12, they're the best non-cast strength specialty whiskeys that you could probably get.
Yeah.
Much. I mean, it's a shame like Dalwhinnie doesn't have a 12. They have a 15, and it's pricey, so it's kind of like it's a great entry-level Scotch, but it's too bad they don't have like more of a.
Oh shit, man! Old Pulteney 12. Like, we can't not include the Pulteney in this.
See, that's on the Pulteney 12 and the Highland Park 12 are two that usually people love, and it's not you. It's like most people like them. I just couldn't really. Those are the ones that I just couldn't get really heavily into for some reason. I don't know what it is.
The good thing about the Highland Park 12 is I don't know if you have to get too into it. I think my general feeling on the HP 12 is that I think it's the perfect whiskey in a very specific way. It's like the perfect whiskey when you don't know what the hell you want to drink.
No, you're like
a Scotch nerd and you got a bunch of different single malts sitting around. And you're like, I don't know what I'm in the mood for. Like, you're just like never going to be disappointed with the Highland Park 12.
Both two things. Andrew Page asked if the Glengoyne 12 is any good. It's too thin of a mouth coat for me. I would pass. On the Macallan 12, that's a good point. I do like the Macallan 12. I think it's overly priced, but it's a good taste. What do you think?
I have not had the Glengoyne 12, so I'm not sure on that one. Macallan 12 is fine, but like if we're talking like straight up sherry situation, Glendronach. I'd pass on it for Glendronach because honestly, Glendronach's the same price, and I think it's way better.
I completely agree. The Mac 12 is good if you want more of a even sweeter, almost chalky kind of sweetness to it. To me, I like that sometimes, but if I want this a straightforward kick-ass sherry cask whiskey, Glendronach is probably the best one you could really get. I mean, even when no one's going to say Abelauer 12. I don't think here. What do you think about Abelauer?
I'd love to hear a good case for Abelauer. I've not had everything in Abelauer, but it's not my favorite.
Hey, Swami, what do you think about the
Abelauer 12?
The Abelauer 12. Yeah, sorry. I saw him just loving the Glengoyne 12. I mean, the flavor on Glengoynes are good. I just don't like the mouth coat until you get up to like the teapot dram or some of the cast strength stuff. It's got more of a good thickness to it. They're really thin on the 10, the 12, the 15, even the 18 is like tolerable, but it's not greatest mouth coat to me, but
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I would include the Wee Witchy in this list. I can just tell you that right now. It's not bad, but it's not anything that's super remarkable so far. I guess it's kind of, I think maybe an even more interesting question is like, what 12-year-olds don't you like?
oh yeah, that is a good one. Well, the if I had to, let me see something real fast. Trying to remember the had a little little list going on here.
Mortlach's getting a little bit better, but I'm still not in love with it.
Well, give it a little more time. That's one of those you gotta definitely let it sit out for a good 15 minutes, and like you said, have a few sips on it. Get past that neck pour. Once you get to like the not the middle, but almost the middle, then I think I would say give it the old emperor.
Yeah. I will say that it's getting sweeter and more fruity.
I was like you with the Aberfeldy. When I first had Aberfeldy, I was like, what the hell did I buy? It didn't really have a lot going on. But I tell you what, after some oxidation, it really became a honey bomb. I really liked it a lot. And it just took a lot of time to get there. Aberfeldy's one that I'm kind of like, eh. For 12s, the Akantoshan, it's okay, but I'm not a huge big fan of their stuff so far. I mean, the American Oak was decent in the 12, but the Bobbler stuff, the old stuff was outstanding, I thought, comparatively. But the new stuff, I don't know yet. Balvenie I do like. Benevis, I'm trying to find one I don't. The Bowmore stuff, I'm not real big on the Bowmore distillery bottles, as like a lot of you guys know. The Royal Brackla, can't even say it. Royal Brackla, I'm not a big fan of. See, I love the Kalila and the Kleinleach. The Kraganmore, I had a distiller's edition, so I can't really say on the 12 on that one. Trying to see if there's any. Oh, the Dalmore. That's one I don't really like.
Yeah.
Not a big Dalmore fan. Let's see if I can find anything. I'll look outside of these really weird ones like Glen Ord. I'm not a big fan of Glen Ord or Glen Keith. Some of those off, the Glen Spey, some of those off the wall ones. But yeah, like the Holland Park 12 and the Old Pulteney 12 are like 3 stars for me. They're okay, but they're not like. I do want to try the Enoch that you mentioned. Enoch, I got to get my hands on a 12.
Yeah, I like the Enoch 12 quite a bit.
I'm trying to see if there's any other Obens. I'm not really big on because they have a lot of floral notes. But other than that, I wish Scapa had an old 16 and a 12, and Scapa got rid of all their shit, and they just did the Glosna, which is a peated, which I do like, a Skyrin, which is kind of like their basic. And I think that's all they really offer right now. Scapa's really gone, I don't want to say down, but they don't really have any age statements anymore like they used to.
Yeah, I've never had anything from them.
If you try something like soon, I would do the Glosna first and do the Skyrin after. I don't think either one's going to blow your socks off. So I wouldn't go out of your way unless you were going to check that distillery off your block. I would put them more toward the end, just like Jura. Jura's another one. I'm not hi ho. Let's go get a Jura bottle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've actually never had the Jura either. So there's still a lot of places I've not tried things from. That being one of them, or those being 2 of them for that matter.
Put those on your last, but not least. Not a huge fan of the Tom and Tool. It's okay. That's another one I probably would put in there. And I haven't tried the Wolfburn stuff yet. They're not up to 12 years though. But those I kind of skim through most of the more known distilleries, but those are the ones I definitely don't get. I like the Altmore. I've had the Altmore and the Ulthrosk before. Those were pretty.
I like quite a bit. Yeah.
The Altmore.
Yeah.
AULT. Okay.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, totally.
You ever had the Ulthrosk? AUCHROISK. That's another Diageo one that's actually pretty decent. You have to be in the mood for more of a savory kind of thing, though. One distillery I have not had yet that I'm dying to get. They have an older 20-year-old bottle. They just have a legacy. Is Ardmore. Have you had an Ardmore before?
Never had Ardmore either. Yeah.
That's one I want to try. What did you guys think of Ardmore, if anything? If anyone has anyone had them, their distillery bottles, and what do you think about their independent bottlings? I'm just curious if any of those are any good. It's like
Yeah.
Upper Philly 12. Oh, Glenmora. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Glenmora 12. I do like the 18 after a lot of oxidation, but was not big on that. And the Strathusla, I would not. I don't think I would go into that at all.
Yeah. Boy, yeah, you hit the nail on the head on a lot of these 12-year-olds that I would probably put on my list as like ones I wouldn't really go back to. I'm trying to think if there's anything outside of it. Yeah, I mean, that I explicitly don't like. It's a short list, really. I'm ambivalent about most of them. It's like I'm either I like them or I'm like indifferent. I don't know if there's not many that I would say I actively dislike, but there's just so damn many, you know. Yeah, I don't particularly like Glenfiddich. I like Glenlivet 12. I just don't love the Glenfiddich 12. I find it to just taste a little bit too on the like artificial side, if that makes any sense. I don't know why. It just has this weird taste to me. I see some folks are talking about Irish. I like, yeah, I mean, Redbreast 12 cast strength. You're talking about a winner. That's awesome stuff. Conversely, well, not necessarily conversely. I guess I would say the other 12, I like the Yellow Spot. I saw people talking about it. I really enjoy that. It's hard for me to think of 12-year-olds that I, actively dislike. Dalmore, definitely one of them. It's way too much sulfur in that. I don't know what the heck the deal is with that.
It's like cloyingly. I mean, and the weird thing is, I love a good sweet dram, but it's cloyingly sweet, like artificially, like someone gave you some bad candy kind of sip.
Yeah, there's something weird with that whiskey. I mean, I don't know. I haven't messed around with much Dalmore after trying the 12. Once you learn, like I got into, I bought Dalmore when I didn't know anything about Scotch because it was like, you see the hype and it looks like it's probably good. It's got that, before you knew about coloring and stuff, I was like, ooh, this looks cool. And I was like, well, don't really like it.
Here's one that I definitely agree with Daniel on, and this is one to definitely put on your get soon list if you haven't had, is the Glenrothes 12. That's a solid bottle. It rates really well usually. It's PX sherry. It's got no coloring. It's like Glenrothes used to not be known for great whiskey. They completely changed their line like a couple of years ago when they did a bunch of new bottles. And I was lucky enough to when I was with the Scotch 4 Dummies, we were in DC, we were in New York, and I saw that Glenrothes had a table, and I'm like, you guys should go over there and try it. And they're like, really? And I'm like, trust me. And Andrew was actually one of them, and he's more of a pea head like I am. And he went over and he's like, damn, you're right. They have much, much better quality whiskey than they used to. And I'm like, yeah, when I tried it, I tried a couple different things, like the 12, and I had a 15, I think, sherry one, and it was solid. I was surprised at how good they were. Yeah.
I mean, and honestly, with the exception of kind of some of the you mentioned that are obviously like cast strength or a bit more expensive, Springbank, Lagavulin. I mean, I think for the most part, I feel like most 12s are usually pretty decent. I don't expect like a world beater out of a 12-year-old. While there are some notable exceptions, I think for me, the Enoch 12 is one of them that I think is like really, really good for a 12-year-old. There are a few others I could probably think of, but by and large, 12 is kind of the introductory range, and like you kind of, everybody should have a decent 12. You mentioned a couple like Glenkinchie is not one I really like. Auchentoshan, like I don't know. The Auchentoshan just to me was again 40%, which doesn't mean that it's bad, but it just tasted so caramely in a bad, like it was caramely in like a artificial way. I don't know what I mean when I say that, but I think you just know it when you taste it. It just didn't taste. It tasted off.
Here's another one for you. And you mentioned two lowland distilleries, Glenkinchie and Auchentoshan. One to put on your radar to do soon if you want a good distillery is Bladnoch, is my favorite lowland distillery.
Oh,
The
interesting.
The 15 Adela I've had, I love it. It's about 110 for the 15. It's a great price, great sherry dram, no complaints. I haven't had their 12 yet, so that would be one that I would love to try. Has anyone had the Bladnoch 12 or 10? They also have a 10-year and a 17-year. I'd love to try the 17 because the 15 is just damn good. It's unbelievable how good it is. It's like a 4.5-star whiskey being a 15-year
wow.
and a lowland. It really blew my socks off. I was surprised at how good it was.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. They did a Game of Thrones release too, didn't they?
No, Bladnoch is not a Diageo bottle. I think I'm trying. I used to. Let me see if they're. I don't think they are. Let me do a double. I know they didn't do a Game of Thrones bottle, but let me see if they. Who owns them? Because I used to. I had my little thing up, and as soon as you asked me, I took it down. Bladnoch is a Wigtown location, Lowland. It's owned by David Pryor. That's another interesting thing. It's a guy that actually owns that distillery, not a company. It's kind of like Andy, what's his name, Anthony Wills that owns Kilhoman. Kind of like that thing, I think. I think he owns them, doesn't he? Yeah, it's independently owned. So this guy named David, what was it? Sorry. David Pryor owns Bladnoch.
Oh, interesting.
And they don't have no, they're not in the Diageo thing, but that would be interesting. Owned by an Australian company. Yeah, he's probably Australian. And yeah, if Kilhoman has a 12, man, even if it's not cask strength, I'm sure it'll be good. But knowing how they do all their whiskey, it probably will be cask strength. It usually is. It seems like. Oh man.
I got to go get a little bit more water here, my friend. So I'm going to take 5. I'll be right back.
All right. When you come back, I'm going to get me another bottle because my bottles are across the room. Anyway, let me go back to the old full screener here. You know what? What the hell? I was saving up a little bit, but I'm going to have one more pour of this. I'm going to try to divvy up some salsa later, and I'm trying to be good about it, but what's another dram going to hurt, right? Ooh, almost knocked the water bottle over. That would be bad. Let's put that over here, out of the way. Sorry, guys, 1 second. That's going to move. Almost had a major catastrophe there. A lot of Bladnoch independent bottlings, that's true. But I tell you what, that 15 Adela distillery bottle was really, 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 really good, I thought. And I did offer it as part of a salsa swap. And the other person that I sent it to really, really liked it too and was blown away about how good it was and was surprised it was a lowland and that kind of thing. So I'm not the only one for sure. Oh, this is the still the Mortlach 15 Six Kingdoms. Pretty good. It's the 4.25 out of 5. Check out the short review if you haven't already, or maybe later on down the road. But yeah, salsa swap, sample swap, basically. We call it salsa because you can't really swap samples, if you know what I mean. Have you had? Oh, let me put you back in here. Have you had a look at the new Long Row Red 13 Chilean wine cask? No, I've heard of it, but I have not had a sample of it. I would love to try it though.
Oh yeah, Peter mentioned that on the happy hour we were doing on my channel before this, and I have not had that either.
The only Long Row I've had is the basic peated one. I haven't had any of the really good ones like the 18 or the red. I think there's like another one that's really good, but I haven't tried those upper end ones yet. It's on the to-do list though. Have you had any Long Rows at all?
So I've had the Long Row 18, which I had at a bar in London last year. It was awesome.
Lucky bastard.
Probably one of the best 18-year-old whiskeys I've ever had. But
damn,
unfortunately, if you try to find a bottle of it, it's like upwards of $200 some.
Oh yeah,
dollars around here. So yeah, not something I've spent money on.
Samuel asked me how I'm doing. I'm doing well, man. Good to see you. And if I had the 15 rum cask, yes, I have. I did a short review of it. Check it out on the side. It did rate well. I do remember that, and it was complex, but it was a little disjointed from the nose to the palate to the finish. All were great though. It just didn't flow as well as a really good 5-course meal should, if that makes any sense. So I did like it, but I could see why some people might be put off. I don't think DHS Dustin was a big fan of it, if I remember correctly. But
No
he
way.
doesn't. He doesn't like most things. I don't think. No offense to him, but he's extremely. I mean, he'll give like some things that I think are pretty good, like a 2-star deal, and I'm like, wow, you just gave a
Really?
4.5-star whiskey like 2 stars, man. Come on, but it is subjective.
Yeah. So after a little bit of time, I just poured a little bit more of this Mortlach. The sherry sweetness, which I really feel like is PX. They don't mention it, but God, it tastes like PX. It's a lot more assertive on that sherry note than it was earlier. It's not bad. It's still not like super remarkable, but I think this is like a stand. If I was going to rate this, I'll probably do a full review at some point, but I don't know. It's kind of in that 2.5 range, try before you buy type range for me. Maybe 2.75. It's kind of where it's landed for me if I was going to throw a number on it. But
I don't blame you, because that profile is definitely one of those you either like it or you don't kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it for sure. Like, it definitely has something else. I think it needs a little time to open up, because there's something here to it that I think is interesting, and it's emerging. It just needs to kind of assert itself.
And some whiskey, even though my own personal rule is I try to keep it a year per age year. I'm sorry, a minute per age year. But even if it's a 15 or 20 year, sometimes it takes a lot longer for it to really get much of anything. And that Glendronach peated Portwood was one that set out for 45 minutes before it really did much. So there's a good example, of a whiskey taking forever to open up.
Yeah. Speaking of 15s, like, that's something that I've found myself buying a lot more of and getting a lot larger of a collection of over the last year. It seems like, the 15s are they're sub $100, which is great. And there's a lot of good quality stuff out there in that 15 range, Springbank 15 being one of them. Man, I love Springbank 15.
I did like that bottle a lot. I heard the 18 wasn't as good, surprisingly, but
it's also like $75 more in some cases.
Yeah, I've had the 15. I liked it. I liked the 12 cast strength is one of my favorites, along with the 10 even. But to the guys talking about Bladnoch independent bottlings, yeah, I'm not talking about the independent bottlings. I'm talking about the distillery bottle. I can't speak to the independent bottlings if they're any good or not, but it probably is hit or miss in a lot of those, depending on also on who's the independent bottler. But the regular distillery bottle for the 15, I can definitely speak for. But I'd love to try the 17.
It seems like the 15-year-olds are becoming the 18-year-olds of 6 years ago. When you used to be able to get an 18 for $100 on, and that was standard. Now they're, look at like things like Glendronach 18 is like, God, man, get a bottle of Elderbeck now, it's like $180.
Yeah, Old Pulteney is a good example of taking the line that used to be 17 to 21, and now it's 15 to 18. And I'm like, oh man, this is hurting.
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
3 years difference is a lot of years.
Right, seriously, and like they've just become so pricey. I mean, I've seen things like the Springbank, like you mentioned earlier. The Springbank 18 is like, I've seen it over $200.
Let's see if I have I used to have a sheet down here. I don't know if I have one. I wanted to see what the price list was on it. I might still have one. Out of curiosity, if they have it local, they usually are pretty good about that. Here we go.
The Springbank.
Yeah, I've got Petite Cellars, the people I usually do a lot of business with. I've got their whole inventory for Scotch in front of me, and they have a lot of Scotch, man. Oh my goodness! Let's see what the Springbank. Okay, so they just have the 10 for $89.99 now. Wow, it's gone up. Probably the tariffs, because it used to be $75. The 11-year Hazelburn they have for $150. The 12 cast strength they have for 125, and the 15-year they have for 150. That's actually not that bad, is it? Or is that too high?
150?
Is that too high?
Boy, man, I just bought 3 bottles of that. I want to say 2 or 3 months ago for 90 a bottle.
Oh, there
96.
you go. Yeah, it's the tariffs. Then
No,
it's got
the
to be.
spring have went up. They went up across the board. The spring bank 10 is like $90 now.
No, I know that also the tariffs are playing a big role in this too. So it probably is two factor. Like they raised their price up $10 to $20. The tariffs also put $20 on.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's what's going on.
Yeah, it's a real bummer.
What's really funny is have you ever heard of that distillery Tininic before?
No.
They're a Diageo. Usually they have their the 10-year-old Flora and Fauna bottle. You'll see a lot. They have a 17-year-old bottle, and they want $300 for it. But I've heard really bad things about it. But I think the person I heard it from might have been Dustin, so I might have to be a little iffy on that to see if anyone else has had the Tininic 17. But $300 is a little pricey for a 17-year even.
Yeah, Jesus.
Especially for one that you don't even know.
I mean, like, these are luxury items and the demand is getting higher and higher, and which is why you're seeing things like Ardbeg put out 5-year-old wee beasties and trying to squeeze it out for the Lefroy Select price range or whatever, which is debatable on the quality of that stuff. But I'm trying to think of another one that, man, it's escaping me now. I can't remember what it was, but
the 15.
Yeah, there's another one that's just like got exorbitant. I mean, isn't there a Macallan 15, which is like crazy price?
Probably. Let me see if they even have that here.
Yeah, the answer is yes. It's just a matter of, does the 15 exist? Is it exorbitantly priced? Yeah.
Yeah, they have a 15 triple cask that goes for 140. It's pretty high.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because they're a 12-year-old. They have two. They have one that's 64 and one that's 60. The sherry oak is 64 and the double cask is 60.
And but folks are big. I mean, people are big fans. It's the brand, it's all that, and they're really good at branding. And I would not pay $65 for a Macallan 12. I'll tell you that much.
They're 18. They have an 18 sherry oak for $330, and a 18 triple cask fine oak for $275. That's crazy money, though. Jesus.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, but this is the world we're living in, for all the hate a lot of NASs get. I mean, among like whiskey nerds, whatever you want to call them, like, I think there are some diamonds in the rough out there for sure on the NAS side. And I think it's just, this is the problem, like, until we can cap the demand. I mean, it's not as crazy as it is with bourbon. Like, the bourbon craze is obviously like, man, you see some things that used to be $20, $30 are now like over $100. It's like crazy. But with Scotch, you're starting to see it with some things. I mean, Macallan's obviously one of them. They know they can get the money. Some of these brands I think can kind of hold their price, but all these NASs coming out, they're not all necessarily bad. I just think this is the world we're living in right now. Yeah,
I mean, thankfully, when Highland Park or Ardbeg does an NAS, usually they do it justice as far as the cask, or you can tell there's some older stuff in with the younger stuff. But yeah, if I had my choice, I would definitely want it to have a 15-year statement, if not at least a 12.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I do hate it when you get these off-the-wall NASs, like if Deanston or Glen Scotia or some of those guys. I mean, the Victoriana was a good one, but sometimes these NASs, you never know what you're going to get into. Can you think of one that really threw you for a loop and you're like, oh, this is not as good as I hoped it to be, like a NAS that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Like, boy, give me a minute to think on that one. I mean, they definitely exist.
I'm trying to think of one too. Like the Valkyrie was one. I mean, that's Highland Park. They usually do a pretty good job with their NASs, but that was one I was kind of like, not really sure if it's. I mean, the Dark Origins off the first part of it was good. The longer it oxidized, the worse I thought it got. So it was one of those where, to me, it was like the opposite of what usually happens, where I open it up and it usually takes me a while to warm up to it. This one, I opened it up and I loved it, but if I didn't drink it within like a month, it was horrible.
Yeah.
That's only happened
Oh,
to me with. That's the only bottle I can think of that's ever happened to me with. Can you think of anything that you're like, wow, I first tasted it was great, and then once it got like halfway down, it just didn't do it for me anymore? Or
God. Well, there's a couple. Some have age statements, but when going back to that NAS question real quick, I mean, the Oban Little Bay is one that like,
yeah,
I was kind of excited by because of its quarter cask maturation, and that one really just kind of fell flat for me. It was boring. It just didn't do anything. I mean, I'm not a huge Oban fan, anyways, but um, the Oban 14 was the first bottle I ever bought, so I it has a special place in my heart. But yeah, the Oban Little Bay was disappointing to say the least. Um, yeah, some of the Highland Parks, it's like there's so many, it's hard to even put a finger on any of them. God, there's so many of those Highland Parks. Um, Other NASs that I thought were really weak. I mean, Talisker Storm. I know this is going to be controversial. I'm not a huge Talisker fan, but the Talisker Storm to me was
I
for
got one.
a price that was not that much less than the 10. I just didn't quite understand why it existed.
The Four Oak is a good
Oh
example
God,
of
the
a
Four
bad
Oak. Yeah,
NAS.
but that's at travel retail, right? It's a whole other animal. But yeah, the
But you
Four
know what I
Oak,
mean? It's like there's no age statement on it. You have no idea what the hell's in there.
the Four Oak is total garbage. I
You
think
just know it's trash. Yeah.
the Select is better than the Four Oak.
I think you might be right, scarily, but I think you might be right because I got a quick funny story for you. This is really horrible, and this is the reason why I will probably not go into any more whiskey expos again. You already are paying like 150 bucks to get into these places usually, right? Well, to get the good stuff, you have to pay the $300 to get the VIP ticket to get in there early to get all the really high end shit, right? So that there you go, you're $300 out the window right there. Not to count the hotel room and all the other shit you gotta pay for, right? So you get in there and they sell out of like the Balvenie tune. They sell out of not sell out, but they divvy out already all the black arts and all the good stuff. You've paid $300 or $400. I mean, it gets to get to the point of the story. The what distillery were you just talking about? The which distillery were you talking about a second ago?
Oban?
The after the Oban, the I was going with this with the being completely surprised by how bad it was.
Oh, Talisker.
Oh
Well, I
man,
wasn't surprised at how bad it was. I just
no. It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
Talisker. It was something else. I just had a complete mind just went blank. But it's one of those where you spend all this money, you get into it, and you finally get there, and either they don't have it, what you're looking for to begin with, or you get it and it's not even near as good as some of the 12 and 15-year-old stuff that you try to finally get. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a bit more of a fan of Talisker. Like, what is your go-to on the Talisker? I mean, like, do you think there's first question, the difference between the Talisker 10 and the Talisker Storm? Do you notice a significant one?
I do like the 10 a lot better than the Storm. The Storm is just okay. I mean, that would be like if a bottle that I would introduce someone maybe to Talisker to see if they would like it if I did not have the 10, but the 10 would be much better. The Dark Storm I thought was really good, but that's just because I think the smoky stuff. But to me, like the Dark Storm was up there with the Ugadal, but I know you were a fan of the Ugadal, but not as much as not into the Dark Storm as much. So it's kind of funny.
The Dark Storm was okay. It didn't wow me. Like, I think if we talk strictly about like travel exclusives, which are always a crapshoot.
Oh,
I think it's the better of the travel exclusives I've had, but yeah.
Now I remember it was Lafroig. Okay, so here's the story I was going with. So we're in the expo, and on the flyer that really got me excited is they had the Lafroig 30, the 27, the 25, and all the other stuff too, right? They had the 30, 27, and 25, and they're selling $300 tickets, off of this, right? So we get in there, we're first at the gate, we're first there. The guys had an issue getting the 27 and the 30 and all they had was the 25. So I'm like thinking, well, we spent all this money and they don't bring what they're supposed to bring. Surely they brought something, right? So as a little, I don't know if it was supposed to be a ha-ha funny, but none of us found it amusing. The guy had this big green welly boot, and guess what he brings out of it as to entice us to be happy that they did bring something.
Oh no.
Guess
The
what it
Four
was?
Oak?
I swear to God. I swear to God. Instead of the 27 and the 30, they brought the 4 Oak, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Oh no. Oh no.
That's why I will not spend. I mean, I will be all up for meeting anybody in this channel if we like got like a group together, go out, get like a hotel and exchange bottles and have our own whiskey expo. That would be awesome. But I will never ever go to one of those sanctioned, spend $150 to $300 to go and get like 4 Oak. That's just not going to happen again. Sorry, man. I had to tell you that.
No, I'm with you, man. I think the 4 Oak was one of the very early in my whiskey reviewing side of things. It was one of the first whiskeys I reviewed. I was super excited about it. Because
I was too the first time I heard it.
Yeah, I liked the triple wood, and I was traveling back from Europe, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, it was a 1 liter bottle. It was relatively inexpensive. I'm like, ooh, 4 maturations? This sounds fantastic. Oh my God. It is so flat and boring. That was such a bummer.
Yeah, I love the PX and the QA cask, but I hated the 4 Oak. I just couldn't get into that.
Yeah, I couldn't drink that fast enough just to get it out of my house. I was mixing it with stuff towards the end. I was like, wow, what a bummer. Like the difference between that and the 10 was like night and day.
And to answer the question there, Daniel, on the Dark Origins, I did love it. I just liked it for the first month or two. After the first month or two, I don't let whiskey sit too long either. It didn't take long for it to get bad to me. Maybe it was bad cork or something, but the first half was great. The second half was okay. And I agree with someone said I love the Talisker Distillers Edition. Both Malt and I love the Distillers Edition. Don't you as well? Yeah, we're both big fans of that one. I'm going to go ahead and take over just for like a couple minutes. I'm going to go get a bottle real fast, okay?
Yeah, do your thing, man. Do your thing. Cool, y'all. So thanks everybody for joining us tonight, man. This is another fun Tuesday. We've been at this for upwards of almost 2 months now, doing a little happy hour on my channel, and then hopping over here to the mighty Telex's channel to do these reviews and taking us into the evening. So it's been a lot of fun. Just taking a look in the chat, we still got like 12, 13 folks in here, which is super cool. Some folks talking about Dark Origins, Highland Park. Peter White's got his hands on a 15 cask strength special release Talisker. That sounds really good. Daniel's asking about the Darkstorm. Yeah. So Daniel, we just mentioned that very briefly. He's a fan of the Darkstorm. I think it's okay. I think I reviewed it a little while ago. I did grab that as a travel retail. I think it's, on par with the 10-year-old, to be honest with you. But for me, that's not saying much. I'm just not a huge Talisker fan. Ben Demon Hunter, you're not an Oban 14 fan, right? Well, I haven't had Oban 14 in a long time. It was the first single malt bottle I ever bought. And I can't say I've had it since probably over 2 years. So I'm not really sure what I think about Oban 14 anymore, to be honest with you. I never reviewed it in any serious way, but it was a special dram for me in that it was a little bit of peat, a little bit of that fruitiness. It was kind of a nice introductory to Scotch. It was one of my conversions from bourbon tequila to Scotch. So Telex, you're back. What's up, buddy?
You talking about the Oban 14?
Yeah, Oban 14.
Yeah, and it's funny. Even though I'm not a huge floral fan, it's a good whiskey if you're not looking for like any smoke or anything like heavy. It's very good. Like it's deeper than a Dalwhinnie, but it's not as deep as a Talisker. It's kind of like in the middle between those two, I think.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
I agree, Samuel. The Carriages 2019 Triple Wood cast strength was great. One of the best Carriages I think they released, really.
Yeah, which Carriages have you all had?
That's a good question for them. The only one I hate to say it. I mean, I'm not knocking it. I guess because I'm used to it, them always being cast strength. The 15-year one was okay, but it didn't like knock my socks off as much as the usual Cairgus's did. I don't know about for you. Was it just about the
Yeah,
same?
I haven't had a chance to drink it yet. I did get the opportunity to try it, but I had or not try it. I haven't tried it yet, but I did get a bottle of it. That's all. I got an opportunity to buy it, but I haven't tried it yet.
It's
Um,
good. It's just one of those that it takes a lot of time to get into and appreciate all the nuances because it is aged, but it's not like super aged. And it's got a decent ABV, but it's not 50 plus. It's kind of one of those curveball carriages.
yeah, and that was like a very exclusive one because they also released another one that year, which was the green 200th anniversary, which is really good.
That's got the special floor malted barley
Mhm.
they did only for that year. And when you have it, man, you really notice the difference in the barley. I did at least on it because when I was in Annapolis at Dry 85, a good speakeasy down there, and they had the Lafroig was actually on site, and they gave us a flight of carriages. And they had the Carriages 2015, like you mentioned. They had the regular 15-year bottle, they had the lore, and they had the Carriages Fino, and we got to kind of have all four of those in one sitting. And I think that 2015 was like the star of the show. Really,
Oh wow,
it was
yeah,
that
that's
good.
a really good one. I've had the opportunity to try every Kirchhoff from 2013 up. I have not had a bottle of the 13 port, but I've got to try it thanks to Aquaman, your buddy.
Oh man,
Um,
you gotta admit that's like the best damn Lafroig you've ever had.
well, shout out to him. I know he's in recovery from COVID-19, so raise a glass to him. Hope he's doing well.
Yeah, that's
Um,
scary, man. That's really scary for
Big
him.
time. The only one that I didn't, the only one that I didn't really love was the 16 Madeira. The rest of them I really liked. The Amontillado was awesome. The 2015 that you were just mentioning was awesome. The Fino is really good. The Triple Wood is really good. My favorite so far has been the quarter cast strength. That was the 2017.
Oh, really? That's your favorite?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was my
wow.
favorite. That was off the chain.
I was about the same as you. I would swap, sadly enough, because we're just, I guess, opposites. I liked all of them except, I mean, I liked it. I didn't like it as much as that 2017 one, but I liked the Madeira. But I think the only difference I think the only reason I liked it more is because you probably don't like a really super sweet dram that much, do you?
What I noticed on that one that I didn't like that much is how ashy the finish was. At least that's what it was for
Uh,
me.
it does have a lot of white ashtray notes at the
Yeah.
end. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, that didn't do it for me. But the reason I loved the 2017 quarter cast strength, the thing I liked the most about that is that it was like as close as you get to an Ardbeg Corey Vrecken from Lafroig. It was so
That's a
it's
good
the most
point.
intense Lafroig I've ever had. It is so punchy, so intense. And it's got like two notes, maybe three, but it does them real well. It's like citrus, vanilla, like lemon lime citrus, vanilla, and smoke, and it just full
It's like
throttle,
pal in
like
your
a freaking
face.
locomotive. Yeah, and I loved it. I still have I think a couple bottles of it because I found a place that was selling them like stupid cheap, so I stocked up. I really like that, and I'm looking to enjoy that for some time. Yeah, that was a fun one.
I do like that one too, but the Madeira for me was I liked it because it had more of a fruit flavor to me going on with the. Oh, I was going to ask you if you don't like the white ashtray note as much. I bet you're not a fan of the Ardbeg and No then probably because that to me
I did not like the Arbenga no that much.
that
I think
has a
it's my
white
least favorite of the
ashtray
Arbenga.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I found it to be just a little bit lacking across the board, but yeah, I do remember it having an ashiness to it that I didn't love.
That's one of those things that I think you're just a hater love it. I do like the Ano. I like the. It's funny because I'm not a big fan of the basic 10, but I love the Corey Brecken
Oh,
and the Ugadal and the Ano. But I'm not as big as I mean, I appreciate the 10 for what it is. I mean, it's their base juice. I've got to like it to a point, right? Because I mean, look at all these hard picks.
yeah.
I love them all, but the base juice without anything else to me is so lemon limey. I can't get over lemon lime flavor. I can't stand it.
Oh, interesting,
You know.
interesting. Yeah. that definitely would mean that explains why you probably didn't love the Karch's 2017 quarter cast strength. Yeah, totally. Yeah, for Ardbeg, I mean, for me, I think the Ugadal is my favorite, and then Corey Brecken and 10 are kind of like right there. Maybe I would go Ugadal, 10, Corey Brecken,
Oh
and
wow!
Piano and Wee Beastie are distant fourth and fifth from those ones.
I would go. I agree with you on the Ugadal being the best. Then I would probably go Corey Vrecken, and no, and then 10. I haven't had the Wii yet, but I'm going to try to get my hands on one of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Even just for the
Richie Z's in the house and Whiskey Ace. What's up, friends? Nice to see you guys.
Neil asked about the lore. Lore's good. I mean, the 18 I think is better if you want more refinement. The lore is more powerful tasting because there is a little bit of a younger peat in there with the older juice. So it really depends on your mood, I think, lore versus the 18. But they're both solid, I think. You've had both, haven't you?
I've had both. I think the 18, of course, is like better, but I think the lore is great. I think I love the lore. And that's another example of an NAS that I think punches above its weight. The lore is solid whiskey.
It's solid, and you can get it for a decent. At first, it was like $130 most places, but
yeah, man, I get like $90, $80.
Now you can find it for $90, and that's a much better price point, I think. And it feels like you're not getting
really good. It's just really, really good. It's one of those whiskeys where like you really notice the transitions of like flavors. Like for some reason, they're so distinct with that. You're just like. The initial palate and then like something different. Like it's just so delineated in a way that I don't know. That sounds nerdy, but it's. I remember the first time I had it, I was just surprised at like the way it moves on levels. I think the lore's great.
No, I agree with you. Whiskey was saying, Whiskey Ace says he loves the Halt of Lafroig except the Select. Well, get your hands on the 4 Oak and the 1819 and come back and talk to us because I think you're not going to like those too much. But the other one,
avoid the 4 Oak if you're ever traveling internationally. The 4 Oak is going to like it may look appealing, but it's going to disappoint you. It's worse than the Select. And that's something.
Out of the age statements, my least favorite is probably the 16, only because it's more on the savory side. Yeah, I love the 10, I love the 15, I love the 18. I love the higher ages too that I've had samples of, but the 16 bottle was good. It just wasn't as good, I think, as the older 15 to me. But some people don't like the old 15, so it's really one of those you never know.
Yeah, so the 16 was. For a little bit more to build on what you're saying, the 16 was a like Amazon exclusive release that Lafroig did last year. It's 48% and it's first fill bourbon. So it's like, imagine what you get a 16, I was very excited. I'm like 16-year-old Lafroig with first fill bourbon at 48%. This is going to be awesome. I think I rated it a 3.5. It doesn't have much complexity. It was very much heavy mud, heavy on the like vanilla smoke, again, like caramel. Of course, it's first fill bourbon, right? To me, it didn't have the complexity that I was hoping for a 16-year-old Lafroig.
Yeah, to me, the wood was just way over the top. And I like the triple wood, especially the triple wood cast strength. I thought was good too. But
yeah,
the woodiness, the oakiness of it was just way too over the top for me on that 16. But
yeah.
You got to be in the mood, if I'm in the mood for like a bourbony, like a Springbank 16 local barley type of thing, then I might be in the, wanting to go for that. But
yeah, I agree. So I think it's the second gram of the Mortlach and the Mortlach 12, and the sherry's coming out a bit more in the second dram. I still don't. I mean, this is like a mid-range 12 for me. I don't think there's anything super remarkable. It is a little bit unique in the like meatiness of it that I just don't get. It's very mouth-watering, but I'm gonna have to spend some more time with it.
No, I hear you. I definitely think it's definitely one of those things you just kind of have to simmer down a little bit close to the midpoint to see what you think. But I wouldn't be surprised if you gave it a 2.5 or 2.75 kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's about where I'm going to fall. I don't know. I'll do a full review of it eventually now that it's open. But
well, hopefully, if I can see you before I get past this 15, I'll try to save you a little sample of it.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to try that. It's a little bit more aged. I'm going to do one more dram tonight. I'm going to, of course, go for something a little bit more on the high end side, which I fortunately was lucky to get, which is the Glengoyne Teapot Dram Batch 7. So this is like the newer-ish one. This is fantastic, and I think this will be a good way to close out my night. So this is going to be fun. Well, at least close it out for now. We'll see what happens later.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have that up with KB when I was up in New York visiting. I can't remember what batch it was. It might have been like a 5 or a 6, but it was really good. I think you'll like it. I mean, you've already kind of dabbled in it, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's one of those Glengoynes that I love because I love the cast strength and I love that one. And they have another one. I think that's what was it? I might have been thinking about the 21 or the 25, but they're all pretty good when you get up to that level.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like they've raised the price on the Teapot Dram. I know it's upwards of like $1.60 American now.
Oh,
I was hesitant, but I did it because I was like, I got to have this once in my life. And boy, I mean, maybe it's not $160 whiskey, but boy, it delivers. It's so rich and intense.
I'll have to get me my own little bottle of that.
Well, I'll steer you. I'm going to save a sample for you once this COVID thing is over. As I always say, I'll be mailing you some stuff.
Oh, that's very cool. I've got an old bottle of 18 I finished out a while back. I'm tempted to maybe get a 21, but I don't know if it's worth the money versus the 18. It's kind of one of those.
You raise a good point there. So, it's too bad you can't find it anymore. But the Glengoyne 15 was really, really good. The 18 I thought was underwhelming. It's good, but it's not great. And here's the thing about the 21. The 21 is also at 43%.
Oh yeah,
which makes me just like, do I want to spend $170 on that? No, probably not. Like the 18, I just wasn't in love with, so I kind of feel like it wouldn't be worth going. I did just get the Glengoyne 25, which is 48%, which is like, yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, I think every whiskey should be good at 40%. But what I find is higher alcohol is more flavor, and you can kind of control it more with your own water, and that's kind of where I fall on it. So, yeah, that Glengoyne 21 is just one of those that's kind of an anomaly for me. I just don't feel like I want to spend the money to try it, given I wasn't impressed with the 18.
What did the 25 run, if you don't mind me asking? It's got to be really up there. 329. That's pretty good. I'm trying to. They don't even have it.
I don't go that high on anything. This was a special buy for a special occasion, and I just pulled the trigger. But normally I don't. Over $300, I can count on one hand how many whiskeys I bought for more than that. I mean, I bought two bottles of Lafroig 25 for $320 a piece, and 3 Bruichladdich Black Art 4.1s that were $330 a piece.
Oh wow, man!
And then the Glengoyne 25. That's it. I don't go that high on whiskey. Otherwise, it's just too much.
What kills me is the Glengoyne 18 is 130 here, and the 21 is 170. And then you have to go up to 3+ to get the 25. Man. That's what just shoots me right here. I mean, I could definitely.
Look at the difference between the Buna 18 and the Buna 25.
Oh, I'm afraid to look.
The Highland Park 18 and the Highland Park 25.
Let's see, the Bunnahabhain, I think that might
$400 difference.
Yeah, they have the Bunnahabhain 25 for $600. That's crazy money. What was the other one you said? Highland Park, right?
Compared to the Buna 18, which is like what, $130?
Yeah, you're right. Highland Park is 25, $750. Ooh, and the 18 is 140. $750 versus 140. And it's only, 7 years difference? That's insane.
Yeah, I know.
It's like $100 per year.
There's just no way. I was just popping in the chat real quick, and Trooper Henry's in the house with some Kilkerran 8 cast strength.
What's he got?
Kilkerran 8 cast strength.
Oh, that's a good one. What do you think there, Trooper? I bet you like that one. I liked it. I'm not sure if I liked it as much as the 12, but if I take my time and play with it, I like the 8 cast strength more. If I just want to pour and sip, I like the 12 more, if that makes sense. $280 US equivalent for the 25 just last month.
Oh wow,
Wow, that's a good price. If I could find it for that, I would probably jump for it.
that's
So
a steal.
I'll do some homework on that. No drams tonight for old Don Holland. Sorry, man.
Hey, Don Holland, nice to see you though, man. Thanks for stopping in. Keeping it tight tonight, huh?
That's a shame, but hopefully you get to have a dram tomorrow if you want one. Recommend Zen for a Talisker. Oh,
so it's funny, Telex. I was thinking about, we've been doing this for almost 2 months now, these Tuesday shows and my Tuesday happy hours. I was in a conversation earlier today with a roommate who said that his father always said that Tuesday is like the worst day of the week as far as the work week perspective.
Oh wow!
Because you're like Wednesday is like hump day, right? So you're closer to the weekend. Tuesday, it's like it's not the first day, but you're kind of like you're not even close to the weekend yet, and you've already worked one day. It's kind of like the worst day. So this is probably the best time for us to be doing whiskey reviews because and sitting down and having a few drams because man, Tuesdays they're rough, man. And my Tuesday this week, and honestly, the last 2 weeks have been pretty rough. So I think Tuesday is the right night to be having a couple pours.
I completely agree. Like, because yesterday I was like, it was rough, but it wasn't crazy. But by about 3 o'clock today, I was like, I'm so ready for 9 o'clock. It's not funny. I just can't handle not at least getting it. I think it's a good bridge to the rest of the week once you get to whiskey night. Then hump day is kind of just it's all downhill from there, right?
Right, man, big time.
Daniel's asking what Bunnahabhain I got. This is the Ankladach I did a while back. It's a travel retail and been sipping on it 50%. Really good, neat. It's got an interesting nose it's got a bit of a sulfuric kick on the nose at the beginning. Once you let it air out a bit, it tames it down, and the palate is killer, especially if you like hazelnuts, a little chocolate, and the 12-year basically with a little oomph to it. I think it's a solid drink and definitely well priced. You can still get it, and it's a 1 liter bottle, which is another plus. Bunnahabhain's one that doesn't kill you on NASs, even though like the Krukvona, the Erenaglin, the Ankladach, the Choychek, the Kubyanak, all that stuff. It's all good, even though it's NASs. So there's another one that doesn't really, mess with you.
Yeah. Yeah. The only Buna I've had that you said that's a travel retail. The only one I've had is the Krukvona, which was like a heavily peated Buna, 50%. I bought that actually the same international trip I took where I bought the 4 Oak, and I remember being like, wow, this Buna. And the Buna was only like 20 euros cheap or more expensive. I was like, wow, this is so much better.
It was like this, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God.
But I was up here, the 4 Oaks down here.
It wasn't even close, man. It wasn't even close. Like,
I'm surprised that I'm not sure if it's Daniel Johnston or who still runs John Campbell, or who runs the show still at Lefroy, but I'm surprised that they allowed that to be released. It's that bad.
Hey man, I mean, look, like the Wee Beastie is not amazing from Ardbeg, but I'll say this: if they're going to go for the same price range as the Lefroy Select, here's the Wee Beastie, 5 years, age statement, 47.4 non-chill filtered. Select is what, 40% chill filtered colored. I mean, well,
which one are you going to buy? Exactly.
There you go.
Hopefully,
for us who are such nerds about stuff, then we'll definitely do it. Looks like Welsh Toros heading out of the house. Good to see you.
Yep.
Thanks for swinging by, Welsh. I know we were chatting a little bit earlier about the Ardbeg Wee Beastie, and I appreciated your comments. You always bring the concise, good points about whiskey, and so I appreciate you sharing your comments, man. Good to see you tonight. Sleep well. Cheers.
And Silver Loke just got in a little bit ago. Good to see him.
Silver Loke, what's up? Nice to see you.
He enjoyed the Kabanack a lot. I liked it. It's a dreamsicle to me. I just didn't like the finish not being more intense for me. The nose and palate were solid though on that one, I think.
Which one was that?
The Kabanack. It's a peated, but it's got like a orange dreamsicle kind of thing going on in the palate.
Yeah, interesting.
The finish just was non-existent for me. I didn't get much of a finish, so that's why I kind of gave it a 3.5 out of 5 kind of rating. It was one of those. The Krukvona was much better in my opinion. Put it that way.
Samuel Kess just dropped an interesting question in the chat, which maybe you might want to dabble in. What is the most intersecting dram you have tried of late for the both of you? I'm assuming you mean intersecting, like kind of covers the range of style and flavor, but maybe you can say more about that, Samuel Cast. That's an interesting question, especially of late. If that's the way you mean it, I'm happy to think on that one a little bit. Boy, things that kind of bridge styles.
If he's thinking about something that covered most of the bases that was a surprise, I would say the Tomaten Decades. They have a new one called the Decades 2 that's out now. But the Tomaten Decades was a really good, solid dram. It was an NAS, but it had stuff going back from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the aughts. And it had 50 years worth of juice in it. And when you sat down and had it, it was so complex. It had basil, it had sage, but it also had fruit, it had florals, it had bitterness, it had sweetness. It covered the bases. When I think of intersecting, I mean, it was like a crossword puzzle in a glass. It was so good.
Interesting.
And I usually pick a song to represent, when I do one of these for Distiller, I always pick a song that kind of give it a memory to me to think about what I liked about the dram.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I picked Close to the Edge by Yes, if you know that song is.
I do.
That's one of my favorite songs. It's really complex. It's 18 minutes long, and it's got a little bit of everything, but it covers all the bases.
Tomaten Decades. That I've not had much I've had the Tomaten Legacy. I think that's the only one I've had. I've not had any other ones, but Tomaten is one of those where I see their 18-year-old at a relatively cheap price. That's
very well priced.
Where you can get a good single malt at 18 years, like sub $100, which is a freaking anomaly these days.
Yeah.
In the house. Spirit Safe, how you doing? Thanks for swinging by. Only stay for a little bit. Hey, I'm glad you could come hang out.
Yeah, Trooper's right. It's really good juice for the value, and that goes from all their stuff, the 12, the 15, 18, even their 20. I'm not sure if I had the 20 or 25 before at a tasting, but it's not as surprisingly low as like the Glenmora. It's like a step up from that, but it might not be as like impressive as your Bunnahavens and some of your other things. But it is a good solid value for what you're getting, I think. Have you ever had the Kuboken stuff? A lot of people love the Kuboken. I never tried it, though.
I have not tried it either. That's the peated Tomaten, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to get my hands on a bottle of that, because I know the Scotch for Dummies were always touting how much they liked the couple different bottles they had. They change over time. They might be batches. I think there's batches.
So Samuel Kess just followed up. He said, how about interesting, something you enjoyed and was a surprise to you so far this year? So what have you opened this year that was surprised in some way, good or surprisingly otherwise?
Oh man, phew, so many. Surprisingly the one that kind of was the biggest letdown to me that I thought was going to be great was the Ardbeg drum, but it just didn't do it for me last year. That was a tough one to get past. But as far as one that was really interesting, the Kalila 18 was a big surprise at how good it was to me. I know some people don't get into it as much as I do. I don't know what it is about that dram, but to me, it was surprisingly almost perfect. I couldn't think of anything I would change about it.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, for me, it was a Berry Brothers and Rudd Kalila 11 cast strength. I don't love the Kalila 12. It's okay. This Kalila 11 that I got was a game changer for me. I mean, this was. I honestly, if I'm being real with you all, this might make it in my top 5 whiskeys of the year. Was this cast strength Kalila 11?
Wow,
fantastic stuff. Another one that really blew my mind, even though I went in expecting it to be good, is Deanston 2008 Bordeaux red wine maturity. That is unbelievably good.
Oh wow.
That's a whiskey that has really it not only surprised, I think it was a 4 out of 5 for me. I would have, if I went back to it now, I might even bump up to a 4.25. That was so good. I bought a bottle. It was $70. It's something I probably got to get again. It was just fantastic.
The one that really surprised me recently, somewhat recently, was how after Highland Park did do their big series of NASs and whatnot, they did the Twisted Tattoo 16 year was one of their first age statements, kind of like when they did the Travel Retail Spirit of the Wolf 14, and they have the Voyage of the Raven and all this crap.
Yeah, right.
It was the first one where I was like, okay, it's $100, it's a 16 year. But it is a Highland Park, and it's called Twisted Tattoo. I'm like, what am I supposed to expect from this? I was kind of like, what do you?
A wine cask, right?
Yeah, and I was like, I'll spin the wheel for Highland Park. If it wasn't Highland Park, I probably would have been a little more suspicious. Well, thankfully, it was actually pretty damn good comparatively to a lot of. If you like fruit vanilla bombs, it's definitely a vanilla bomb.
No, I'm excited to hear this because I just got a bottle of it, and when we do our Highland Park show, I'll probably be cracking that open for that. So.
I hope you. I mean, it's kind of scary because sometimes I'll think you'll like something and you don't like it as much, but sometimes you'll end up liking something that I like, and I'm not sure if you're going to like it.
I think that, if I'm speaking with radical candor, I think that you have a bit more of a focused palate in the sense that you kind of really know what you like and know what you don't like. For me, I think I find things. So, like, let's talk about, this is an example of how it goes for me. I don't love Talisker 10. I don't love the pepperiness of Talisker in general. I don't love the Storm. I don't love the 10. Talisker is just not my favorite dram. However, I love the Ardbeg Corryvreckan, which is also super peppery. How does that happen? I don't know.
I can't figure out.
There's other things going on that, like, somehow, I guess maybe it's a little more individual. My palate kind of jumps around a little bit more than yours does, I think, at times. And I think that, like, in a sense, it makes these conversations so interesting because, you have some really great kind of like notes that you get off things, and sometimes I pick them up, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I pick up something a little different, and like we kind of complement each other really well with that. I mean, I definitely have a style that I like, but I think that there are less things that I don't like than maybe you do.
It's a good point that you brought up the Corryvreckan white pepper with the Talisker, because they are really comparable.
Right.
I'm wondering if maybe it's the pepper spice, the white and black pepper with the brininess that you don't like. Maybe it's the Corryvreckan is not as briny with that pepper.
It could be. I think there's something about the Talisker signature profile that shows itself on the 10 and on the Storm, and to some degree on the Dark Storm. It just lands in a weird way for me. I think it's more like, I think it's not one singular thing, because if we talk about brine, like I love Old Pulteney 12.
I was gonna say you like Old Pulteney 12, so.
Right?
I was about to bring that up.
Whiskey. I think it's like the way certain things. It's not just like a certain note.
It's a combination, I think, of
interact with each other.
Yeah, the two of the.
I'll tell you right now, I'm working on a bottle of Talisker 18 that I am really enjoying, and as you know, I'm a huge advocate of the Talisker Distillers Edition. So like. Yeah, there's just something, like I pick up something, and like I said, I try not to do, too many reviews before I've spent enough time with it, unless I'm doing an uncorking review. And yeah, there are certain ones where it's taking I've had a bottle of Glen Scotia Victoriana open for like 4 months. I still haven't done a review of it because I'm just not quite sure where I'm at on it. Like, I like it, but there's so much happening. So
the Victoriana is one of those bottles where, it's like I'll drink it one day and I'll love it. I'll drink it the next day and I'm kind of like, well, is it as good as I thought it was? And then the next day it'll be back where it was. And that bottle is like that. So don't feel bad that you're kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to like this or not because it's.
I definitely don't feel bad. I think it's just like, trying to find the center, right? I think any day you taste something, it's going to taste a little different than it is the next day. And there's all sorts of reasons for that. But like every distillery kind of has a profile, and you're going to be able to pick up kind of that signature thing and make a decision on it. But like for the most part, I find that relatively quickly with some, with others, not so much. And so it takes me a little bit longer. And, it's all just part of the fun. I mean, at the end of the day, this is all about fun. It's all about learning and exploring. Like if you're not growing, you're decaying. And so it's about growing your palate. It's about trying new things. It's about challenging yourself. And like, that's why I think all of this is so much fun. And, you surprise yourself every once in a while.
I wish I could afford to buy you guys all a bottle of the Avondurg that I hate so much, just to see what you think of it. Because it's like it's only, they have a 10-year-old now. The first inaugural is only a 3-year-old, and they're still charging like crazy money. I'm talking like a couple $100 for this 3-year-old bottle of whiskey that tastes like sweaty Jim's shorts and socks. It's that bad.
That sounds like this Bun Scotia hand-filled single cast that I have right now, which is something wrong with it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what next week on my happy hour, I'm gonna revisit it and we'll see what's happened after a week. But
I wish I could afford to get you guys all a sample, because I'm dying to know if you guys think if it's as bad as I think, because it was that bad.
Whiskey is a good question. Do you to both of us? Do you tend to continue drinking down a bottle that you're enjoying, or do you put it aside and move on to the next?
That's a good question. The Spirit Safe says he wants the Avondurg. He knows what I'm talking about. If you get an Avondurg, please get the 10-year-old bottle first. Don't get the 3-year-old, dude. Because if you get the 3-year-old, you're going to be very, very sad.
Yeah, totally.
I haven't had the 10 yet, so I can't even say if that's going to be any better. But the 3-year-old was horrible. But as far as the question on the savoring versus drinking, 9 times out of 10, I'm just going to go ahead and drink and finish a bottle pretty much, especially if I have a second one. Like I had a Lafroig 18, and I was lucky enough to get 2 of them. So the first one went fairly fast. The second one I haven't opened up yet. So it's one of those kind of things. Mm-hmm. If it's like is high end as like the first release of the Ardbeg Supernova I got from 2009, that one I've been very meticulously sipping, but that's the only one that I've been babying that I can think of.
Yeah, and I kind of fall on the same thing with you, Telex. So to your question, Ace, if it's something I'm really enjoying and it's expensive, I mean, like over $100 or over like $80, I tend to savor it longer. If it's cheaper than that, I really like it, I tend to drink it down. And so basically, yeah, the price on it kind of defines how quick I drink it. If it's something that I'm like, oh wow, this is a real winner, I don't want to kill all this now because I can't get a bottle again, I'll tend to take it a little slower. But things like that I know I can get my hands on that I really love, I'll drink down.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like there's so many different things that I haven't tried that I know I want to get. So that's why I usually don't savor them too long. And if I like something, I'm going to drink it. It's just too damn good.
A classic example right now might be the Ardbeg Black Committee release. So like I've been a little more stingy on the Ardbeg Committee release as of late, because I don't want to drink it all down, because I want to make sure I can I have this idea in my head that I want to savor more of it later, but I want to drink it down. If that was a Ardbeg 10, I'd be like, whatever,
Exactly. That's one that was hard to drink fast, but it was so good that it didn't last very long.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Telek, I got to hop off, man. I got to get some things done. I might join Swami a little bit later tonight, but it's been another fun week. I think what is this, like our 7th show, 8th show? I don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
But it's going well. This has been a lot of fun, and I'll connect with you next week. It's been good chatting with everybody here in the channel. Thanks for everybody who joined for happy hour on my channel before the show. That was a lot of fun. And until then, man, stay safe, be well. I'll catch you next week, all right?
You too, man. I might see you a little bit here in a little bit. After about 10 minutes, maybe I might head over there too.
All right, man. Take good care.
You too.
Peace out, everybody.
Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, thanks so much for stopping by, Malt. That was awesome. And yeah, it's kind of funny. I usually don't savor them too much. If I like something, I usually will be into it pretty heavily until it's gone. And that happened with all those Ardbegs pretty much. I'm still working on an old Grooves bottle, surprisingly, and I do like the Grooves. The committee release was a lot better than the standard one, but the standard one I'm still working through. I've got a little bit of the old Era Verdis left that I do adore it. It's not that I don't like it. I've been trying to savor a little bit to do a review on. And I just got lucky. I found some 23s, some 20 something. I think it was a 23-year-old that had a sample of that. I didn't even realize I still had it. So that's going to be a nice show to do an Ardbeg 23. I think it might have been from, I'm pretty sure it was from Mr. Lee, Mr. Aquaman, that we sometimes talk about. So hopefully he'll be around to have that, have a little fun. This is the Enclodoc Spirit Safe. It's a Travel exclusive, 50% ABV. It's really well done. At first, the nose is a bit intense. It's got some sulfur, but it turns into some really nice mixture of like hazelnuts, some fruit, a little bit of sulfur, but not overbearing. Really nice chocolatey notes in it. I like it a lot. Yeah, even though for an NAS, for being 50% a 1 liter bottle, can't really knock it. It's I think it's well done. Doesn't really talk about the chill, the coloring or chill filtering type of thing, but I don't think they would bother with the 50%, and the color on it's not overly dark or anything, so I think it's probably pretty natural, I have a feeling. Thankfully, Bunnahabhain doesn't really mess with their juice too much. Yeah, the 23 and 22s are very expensive, so I was very lucky to find that in my own little closet in the back. I was looking for different ones. Love Bunnahabhain, but limited choice in British Columbia. Oh, you must be in British Columbia. Yeah, that's got to be tough, man. Dealing with the stores, and does British Columbia let you order anything online? If they do, it's easy to get this. If they don't, that's a whole different story. But if you're allowed to order overseas, like from England, you could easily get the Unclodoc for like 40, $50. It's not expensive for 1 liter even. It's a very good price. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, the Unclodoc 1 liter bottle rules for 50%. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And Trooper also likes he got a hold of the Ellen Grain and really liked that one a lot. I think it was pretty good. The Smugglers. The Oh, we have Smuggler. I thought you were talking about an independent bottling I've heard of before called Smugglers. Never mind. Yeah, if you got Smugglers, and you're okay. There is no bad Benahan. I think, I mean, with the exception of the Cabernet, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it really had the finish that I wanted. The first Choi check was a good basic, Lagavulin 8-ish kind of malt. It was just a straightforward ex-bourbon type of cask. That one didn't really do a whole lot for me either, but I finished it, loved it. Same with the Cabernet. I think you're right. There's not really a bad one. The Sturdy Dare is even good. That's their newer one. That Mortlach is expensive. Just quoted me 55 for shipping along with that 80. Oh, so they want to charge you 80 plus 55 shipping. The only way you're going to get a good deal out of that, Daniel, it sounds like then if they're doing, yeah, because they're higher on the shipping. It's too bad they don't have it at the Whisky as some of the other ones. But if you can get a couple other bottles with it and not have the shipping go up, then it might make more sense, hopefully, to you. It's kind of a tough one when you're dealing with shipping. Unless you're getting a couple other bottles, it is hard to make it kind of worth the 55. That's why I used to do the SMWS stuff, and unless I'm buying 2 or 3 bottles, which is hard to afford because you're already spending like $150 on a bottle plus the shipping and all that. It's like, the red wine finish is great on that Trooper. You're right. I love that stuff. There is there's not a bad Highland Park 16 Twisted Tattoo. I'm not sure what you meant by that, but I mean, I liked it. I don't think it's a bad one. Are there different versions of it or something? I'm not sure what you meant by there's not a bad Helen Park 16 Twisted 2. They're all the same, aren't they? They just released it last year. I've heard of an inexpensive Mortlach. That's true. They are on the pricey end. Even the old stuff was pretty pricey from what I remember. They used to come through the airport with a bottle of each trouser leg for spirit's sake. There you go. That's the word. I'm just saying it's good. Anytime, buddy. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is. It is good. It's tasty. Do you own any Caden Heads bottles? I haven't bought any yet, but they seem reasonably priced. Definitely, if you're going to go for independent bottlings, I'm not a huge into that market like some people are. But if I did decide to go more into the independents, I would probably go back to SMWS. I would definitely do Caden's Head. I would Caden Head, sorry. I would definitely do Adelphi and Signatory. Those are the ones that Black Adder. I would do that. Those are the ones that are notoriously good. The Alexander Murray and Company have been pretty decent. I've had some goods and I've had some iffies. With the Berry Brothers and Rudd, I haven't had all that great of a thing, but I haven't got that many independent bottlings either. I can't really knock them. Exclusive malts were always good. I had some really good Lagavulins and some Highland Parks that were cast strength and whatnot, and those were really good. But exclusive malts don't do anything anymore. They got bought out by a Japanese distillery of all things, so they're probably going to be going to the Asian market now. Sadly, other than that, I don't really do. I try to stick to distillery bottles if I can. Only because I'm trying to try different things and see what they're really about. And, I mean, some of these new ones that are just coming out too, with the Ball Blairs and the Old Pultneys, and they always are throwing curveballs with their new stuff. So it's kind of tough to keep up with. So once you get like their line, you complete the line from NAS or 12 up to their 1821. By the time you get all those, then they have another release like a couple years later, so you have to almost start all over again to really see if it's changed much, if it's different. Usually it is. Typically when they change a line, it's a complete change. It's not even close to what it was before. That's so far what I've seen. Also, have you heard anything new on the Ardnahoe distillery with Jim McGowan? The only thing promising I have heard, and I say promising because it was good, and this is the last thing we'll talk about before I take a little break and maybe head over to see Swami 11. Just to give you a little sneak peek, I had a buddy, an acquaintance, we'll say, taste the new make at Ardnahoe. He went over, and I'll tell you some of his notes that he said, and I trust this guy. He's a reviewer. He's like, one thing I love about Dramfest is where he had this is that you often get to chat to the distillers and sometimes even try a new make. What I like about Hunter Lang does with their bottlings, when I heard about they had opened an Isla distillery, is very interesting to try some of the distillate. It's a family-owned distillery, which is rare, and the first to open on Isla since 2005 with Kilhoman, and we're talking about Ardnahoe here. Every aspect of the setup they have got is top-notch. It has Oregon pine fermenters, 2 lantern-shaped pot stills at 13,000 liter wash still and a 11,000 liter spirit still. The longest line arm in Scotland, apparently a warm tub condenser. The still is made from malted peat between 40 and 45 ppm from Port Ellen maltings and undergoes a long, slow fermentation around 72 hours. So far, he's speaking my language. We've got 40 to 45 ppm, which is similar to an Ardbeg type of thing. And they're getting it from Port Ellen, which is I'm sold already. Jim McKellen came out of retirement, consulted on the project, and joked that finding the cut point in the spirit was as difficult as giving birth. I mean, to find that cut point was as difficult as giving birth. Coming from a guy, that doesn't give birth, I'm not sure how much to weight that, but that's saying something. He's like, I'm also quite excited that they have a lot of different caskings. The diversity reminded me of Benrach. Primarily, they have about 70% first fill bourbon barrels and then about 20 or 25% first fill Oloroso hogsheads and some butts. However, they also have some other wine casks such as port, Madeira, Muscat, Rioja, and some rum. They do the Kill Devil range on the side. So I'm looking forward to hopefully some great wine and port cask finishing from them. Anyhow, the new make was awesome. Very biscuity, fruity, and smoky. Very much hope that they have good casks to do it justice. If you want to, touch base with this guy, his name's Soba45. He's on distiller.com, SOBA45. If you look up Ardnaho New Make, you can read about it there. I kind of went over everything, but it's a good place to get some really good intel on some of these Scotch makes and whatnot. Yeah, I'm excited to try it. I've been the Gartbreck was such a letdown. Gartbreck was another distillery that was going to happen on Isla at the same time Ardnaho was starting, but Gartbreck ran into some issues with. I can't remember. I think Hunter Lang was giving them some issues with something. I can't remember what the deal was. If anyone knows, give it a comment after the fact. On the video when I post it, if you don't mind. I'm just curious. I'm going to go ahead and jump off here and maybe take a little mini break and get ready for a little Swami action. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys. I really appreciate it. And special thanks to Malt Muser for hanging out, talking about Mortlach. Hopefully we'll both get a chance to try some of their other stuff. He had the 12. I had the 15. I love the 15 to a point. Maybe I shouldn't say love. I really liked the 15. And he was kind of iffy on the 12, it seemed like. He wasn't quite sure. But they have a 14, a 16, an 18, a 20. I'm kind of curious to see some of these other newer ones to see if they're any good. Really want to try Portwood. Yeah. If you get a chance to get the Lefroy Carriages Portwood or the Brodier first batch, those are the best port cask whiskeys I've ever had. Look for Malted in Montreal, Daniel. That's where he's going to be. All right, guys. See you in a little bit. Sláinte for now.